In the year 1900, a group of Greek sponge divers were caught in a storm off the coast of a small island called Antikythera, a remote, barely inhabited rock between Crete and mainland Greece. When the storm passed, they dove into the surrounding waters looking for sponges. What one diver found at a depth of 45 meters was not sponges. It was the wreck of an ancient Roman ship, sitting on the ocean floor, perfectly preserved by cold, dark water for 2,000 years. The ship was full of treasure, marble statues, bronze sculptures, glass vessels, jewelry, one of the greatest archaeological finds in history, pulled from the sea by men who had simply been waiting out a storm. But there was one object on that ship that nobody understood. A lump of corroded bronze the size of a shoebox, fused together by 2 millennia of salt water and time. They pulled it up with everything else. Set it aside. Nobody knew what it was. For 2 years, it sat in the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, while scholars cataloged the statues and the sculptures, the things they understood. Then, in 1902, an archaeologist named Valerios Stais was examining the bronze lump and noticed something. Gears. Inside the corrosion, inside the rock-hard crust of 2,000 years, he could see the teeth of a gear wheel, multiple gear wheels, interlocked, precise, impossibly fine. He published his findings. The academic world rejected them. The idea was considered absurd. Ancient Greeks did not make gear mechanisms. Ancient Greeks made vases and statues and philosophy. Not machines, not precision instruments with interlocking bronze gears. The object went back into a museum drawer, and it stayed there for 50 years. In the 1950s, a British physicist named Derek de Solla Price heard about the Antikythera mechanism, as it had come to be called, and became obsessed. Price spent 20 years studying it. He used early X-ray imaging to see inside the corroded fragments without destroying them. What he found forced him to rewrite everything he thought he knew about ancient technology. The mechanism had at least 30 interlocking bronze gears. Some of those gears had teeth so fine, cut with a precision measured in fractions of a millimeter, that they could not be replicated by hand tools. They required machine tooling. Machine tooling that, according to everything historians believed, did not exist in the ancient world. Price published his analysis in 1959. The academic world was skeptical. Some called it impossible. Some suggested it must be from a later period, perhaps medieval, and had somehow ended up on an ancient wreck by coincidence. But the ship had been dated clearly to approximately 60 to 70 BC by the coins found on board, by the pottery, by the style of the statues. The mechanism was on that ship when it sank. The mechanism was made no later than 60 BC. Price estimated it would have taken an ancient craftsman 10 years to build. He called it a computer, not metaphorically, quite literally, a mechanical computer, an analog calculating machine. The question that Price could not answer: how? In 2005, an international research group called the Antikythera Mechanism Research Project used the most advanced imaging technology available, high-resolution X-ray tomography and multispectral imaging, to look inside the mechanism in detail for the first time. What they found exceeded every previous estimate of its complexity. The full mechanism, when complete, had at least 37 interlocking gears. Possibly more. Fragments are still missing. It had a main drive wheel connected to a series of smaller wheels through differential gearing, a type of gear system so advanced that engineers believed it was invented in the 16th century AD. It was in this mechanism, built in the 1st century BC. The front of the device had a dial showing the position of the sun and moon against the zodiac constellations, accurate to within a fraction of a degree. There was a ball that rotated to show the phases of the moon in real time. A pointer tracked the position of Mars. Another tracked Venus. Another, Jupiter. The back of the device had 2 large spiral dials. One tracked the metonic cycle. a 19-year period after which the sun and moon returned to the same positions relative to each other. Greek astronomers had calculated this cycle accurately centuries earlier. The mechanism tracked it automatically, mechanically, continuously. The second spiral tracked the Saros cycle, an 18-year and 11-day period used to predict solar and lunar eclipses. The mechanism did not just track it, it predicted eclipses. Turn the handle forward, and the device would tell you, on this date, there will be a solar eclipse. On this date, a lunar eclipse. Which type? How long it would last. There was also a smaller dial that tracked the 4-year Olympic cycle, the ancient Greek calendar of athletic games and religious festivals. It was, in every sense of the word, a computer. A hand-cranked, bronze mechanical computer built 2,000 years ago, capable of modeling the movements of the solar system and predicting astronomical events years in advance. And it was built by someone in the ancient world, someone whose name we do not know, whose workshop we have never found, who left behind exactly one example of what they could do, sitting on a ship that sank to the bottom of the Mediterranean. Here is the question that nobody has answered. This level of technology, differential gearing, precision-cut bronze teeth, multi-layered gear trains modeling planetary motion, did not appear again in recorded history until the 14th century AD. That is a gap of 1,400 years. Not a slow decline, not a gradual loss of knowledge, a complete disappearance. Everything else from the ancient Greek world survived in some form. Their mathematics, their philosophy, their architecture, their medical knowledge, their astronomy, the actual calculations the Antikythera mechanism was built to perform. All of it was copied, preserved, transmitted through Byzantine scholars, through Arab translators, into the medieval European universities. But not this. The knowledge of how to build this machine vanished completely. No medieval engineer mentions anything like it. No Arab scholar describes copying one. No Roman writer, not Cicero, not Pliny, not any of the writers who documented Greek inventions, describes this level of mechanical engineering in any detail. And this is what makes the Antikythera mechanism so deeply unsettling. It is not the device itself. We now understand what it does. We have built replicas. We know how it works. What we do not know is what it represents. Was this a unique invention, a single genius building one extraordinary device that was then lost? Or was it one example of a wider technological tradition that we have completely lost all trace of? Because if this mechanism existed, other things could have existed too. More complex devices, more sophisticated instruments, an entire tradition of mechanical engineering of which this is the only surviving piece. And if that tradition existed, why is there no other trace of it? There are 3 theories, and none of them are comfortable. The first theory: the mechanism was a unique invention by a single person or workshop. Extraordinary, but isolated. The knowledge died with its creator. This is the most conservative explanation. It also requires us to believe that one person or small group independently invented differential gearing, precision bronze tooling, and multi-layer mechanical calculation 1,400 years before anyone else, and that no one around them learned how to do it. The second theory: there was a wider tradition of mechanical engineering in the ancient world, but almost all evidence of it was destroyed. The Library of Alexandria, which we discussed in a previous video, burned multiple times. And Alexandria was precisely the center of ancient Greek mechanical engineering. Hero of Alexandria described dozens of mechanical devices. Ctesibius of Alexandria built a water-powered pipe organ and a sophisticated water clock. The Alexandrian school of engineering was the most advanced in the ancient world, and almost none of it survives. What the Antikythera mechanism suggests is that what was lost in Alexandria may have been far more significant than anyone has assumed. The third theory, and this is the one mainstream historians resist, is that the technological timeline we have constructed for human civilization is wrong, that ancient people were more capable than our framework allows, that devices like the Antikythera mechanism are not anomalies, but data points, and that the real history of human technical achievement has been systematically underestimated. None of these theories have been proven. None have been disproven. In 2022, researchers at University College London completed the most detailed reconstruction of the Antikythera mechanism ever attempted, a full working replica using only techniques and materials available in ancient Greece. It took a team of engineers, historians, and craftsmen 2 years to build. They succeeded. The replica works. It predicts eclipses. It models planetary motion. It tracks the Olympics. Everything the original did, their replica does. And when they were finished, the lead researcher said something that has stayed with me since I read it. He said, "We can now build this with ancient tools, but we still don't know how anyone in the ancient world thought to build it in the first place. The conceptual leap, the idea of encoding astronomical knowledge into a mechanical gear system, is something we cannot trace. We cannot find the prototype. We cannot find the intermediate steps. We cannot find the tradition it came from. It appeared, fully formed, extraordinarily sophisticated, on a ship that sank off a small Greek island 2,000 years ago, and then it disappeared. The wreck at Antikythera has never been fully excavated. Modern diving expeditions have returned to the site multiple times since the original recovery in 1900. In 2017, archaeologists found a human skeleton at the site, a young man, preserved by the same cold, dark water that preserved the mechanism, dead for 2,000 years. Researchers are working to extract DNA from the skeleton. They hope to learn where this person came from, who he was, whether he was a passenger, a sailor, a slave. What they cannot learn from his bones, what no amount of technology will ever tell us, is whether he knew what the bronze box in the ship's cargo hold actually was, whether he understood what was inside it, whether he was carrying it somewhere with a purpose or simply transporting one item among hundreds. The ship was traveling from Greece, most likely from Rhodes or Corinth, 2 cities known for their ancient schools of astronomy and mathematics. It was heading, historians believe, toward Rome, perhaps to be displayed in a Roman triumphal procession, perhaps as a gift, perhaps as a sail. It never arrived. Instead, it sank, and the most sophisticated device built in the ancient world settled into the dark Mediterranean sediment, where it would sit for 2,000 years, waiting for a sponge diver caught in a storm to find it. We found it. We have studied it for over a century. We have imaged it, replicated it, decoded its inscriptions, reconstructed its gears. And the question it poses, the question that every researcher who has ever worked on it has had to confront, has never been answered. Not who built it, not what it does, not how it works. But this, if they could build this, what else could they build, and where did it go? Subscribe, because what they erased from history, we're bringing it back.